The week before Thanksgiving, I was working the bakery and deli at this new grocery store, one of those neighborhood markets, you know? It was barely open a week, and already half the staff had stopped showing up. The place felt hollow, even with the music piping in overhead. I was 24, running between bakery ovens and the deli counter because no one else had bothered to show up for the morning shift. That's when I saw him, early, just after we unlocked the doors. A guy in a red sweater, hood down, standing by the deli case. He didn't say much, just pointed at a block of cheese and muttered, 2 pounds. I sliced up the cheese, weighed it, tried to keep my voice steady. Anything else? He just shook his head, eyes never really meeting mine. I handed him the bag, thanked him, and watched him shuffle off without a word. I left the deli, slipped through the walk-in fridge and into the bakery, just like we were taught. The fridge connects the two, and the bakery leads right into the back room. I remember thinking how weird that layout was, but I was in a hurry, so I just started baking off the French bread. 20 minutes later, I came back to the deli to check on things. That's when I noticed him again. The guy in the red sweater, just standing by the shelves near the counter. He hadn't moved much. He pulled up his hood and just stared. Not at the food, not at the shelves, at me. I tried not to let it get to me. I asked if he needed help, but he didn't answer. He just kept standing there, quiet as ever. I started feeling uneasy, like really uneasy. I slipped into the back corner and grabbed my walkie-talkie. My friend Malik was on security that day. I told him what was up, trying to sound casual even though my hands were shaking.
Just act normal. I'll come check him out. Stay in the bakery if you feel weird, alright?
I did what he said. Headed back into the bakery, started bagging up bread, trying to look busy. My mind was racing. I kept glancing through the window, half expecting that guy to just appear.
I talked to him. He says he's just shopping. Doesn't seem like he's doing anything wrong, but I'll do rounds every hour, just in case.
I told Malik he didn't have a cart, hadn't picked up anything but the cheese, and he was making me nervous. Malik nodded, said he'd keep an eye out, and left me to finish my shift. I put out the bread, and there he was, leaning against the deli case, almost behind it. I told him he couldn't be back there. He just shuffled out, barely looking at me. I tried to focus on packing up the chickens, but I could feel him watching me. Every time Malik walked through, the guy moved back to the shelves. As soon as Malik left, he'd drift right back to the deli. I grabbed my walkie and called up to the front, told the CSM, our customer service manager, Lila, that I was getting scared. She promised to check things out herself. About half an hour later, Lila came back and told me she'd had him leave. I breathed a little easier, finished cleaning up the bakery, and tried to convince myself it was over. Everything seemed fine as I started cleaning the deli. I was almost done, thinking about what leftovers I could take home, when the bell above the deli door rang. I looked up, and there he was again. The guy in the red sweater, standing in the doorway, staring at me. He asked if he could have half a pound of the cheese from before. I did what he asked, hands shaking. I handed him the cheese, trying not to make eye contact. He drifted over to the chickens, just watching me as I finished up. When Malik came by, I told him the guy was back again, after Lila had made him leave. I said I didn't think I could finish my job like this.
I'll keep him busy. Just go finish up in the kitchen. I'll talk his ear off about food or something.
I hurried through the rest of my cleaning, heart pounding. Malik was trying to keep the guy distracted, but every time I glanced out, the guy's eyes were fixed on me, like he was waiting for something. Malik headed up front to talk to Lila about the guy coming back. I tried to convince myself it was almost over, just 1 hour left. The guy stayed by the chickens, silent, not even pretending to shop anymore. I slipped into the kitchen, started shutting everything down, lights, ovens, the whole routine. I let myself relax for a second, thinking I was finally alone. I turned off the lights, looked up, and there he was, standing in front of the door. I told him we were closed. He pushed the door open, rushing at me. I panicked, yanked open the walk-in fridge door, slipped through, nearly tripping over trays. I could hear him behind me, the plastic strips rattling as he followed. I burst through the bakery, out into the back room, heart hammering. I could hear footsteps, his, I think, following through the fridge. I didn't look back. I ran through the store, straight up to the front. Didn't care who saw me. Malik and Lila were there, and I blurted out what happened, shaken so bad I could barely talk. Lila tried to calm me down, calling the police. Malik stood between me and the store, scanning for the guy. I just kept repeating that I wanted to leave, that I couldn't do this anymore. That's when I saw him again, moving through the aisles, pointing at me, shouting, "Hey! Hey! Get back here!" I told him to leave me alone, voice cracking. We're in an outdoor mall, so mall security showed up before the police. Radio crackling, flashlights sweeping the aisles. Malik stepped up, blocking the guy, telling him to leave me alone and get out. Mall security took over, and Malik walked me to my car. He apologized, said he'd never seen anything like that before. I just nodded, barely hearing him. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I went home, locked the door behind me, and just curled up in bed. Tried to let the warmth swallow me. But my mind kept replaying the whole thing. His eyes, the way he moved, the silence. I called out for the rest of the week. Couldn't face going back, not after that. Every time my phone buzzed, my stomach twisted. I just wanted to forget. Midweek, my store manager called. He apologized, promised I'd never be left alone again if I came back. I asked what happened with the guy. He said they'd called the police, but the guy wouldn't talk, just stared at the wall. They arrested him for harassment and trespassing. That's all they knew. No one ever figured out what he wanted or why he kept coming back. I transferred to the super center after that. I wasn't about to risk my life for minimum wage. Even now, sometimes, I see a flash of red in a crowd and my chest tightens. I tell myself it's nothing, but I don't think I'll ever forget the way he watched me. That silence, thick as winter air, settling in the aisles long after closing.
In 2007, I was living alone in a small condo in Gainesville, Florida. I'd just turned 30, working on my PhD, and the place was quiet. Too quiet sometimes, if I'm honest. My friend, Captain, well, that's what we called him, had this thing about walking across the country. That winter, he showed up on my doorstep with a duffel bag, ready to wait out the cold. We had Thanksgiving together, just the two of us and some takeout. After that, Captain settled in for a long winter. I spent most nights at my boyfriend's place, so it wasn't a big deal. At first. Weeks blurred by. Captain took over my couch, my kitchen, my Netflix queue. It was like living with a ghost who never left dirty dishes, but always lingered. By early spring, Captain was itching to get back to his walk. He asked if I'd drive him to the exact spot in Alabama where he'd stopped. I said yes, honestly just ready to have my place to myself again. We loaded up my little sedan with his pack and a couple sandwiches. The drive out wasn't as long as I'd expected, 5, maybe 6 hours. Most of it was highway, then a turnoff into the kind of back roads you only see in movies. I dropped Captain off just before dusk. An empty stretch of road, a faded sign, nothing but trees and silence. He waved, shouldered his bag, and started walking north. I watched him until he disappeared into the tree line. I turned the car around, set my GPS for home, and started back. The sun dropped fast behind the trees, and soon I was driving in total darkness, surrounded by nothing but the hum of my engine and the occasional flicker of a porch light miles off the road. My GPS, one of those old ones with a suction cup and a tiny screen, decided to take me on the most backwards route imaginable. Instead of the highway, it sent me through winding, narrow roads that felt like they hadn't been paved since the 70s. The woods pressed in on both sides. No streetlights, no billboards, just the occasional mailbox and the feeling that if I broke down, no one would find me until morning. It was the kind of place where you start thinking about old movies, Deliverance, that sort of thing. Somewhere along one of those endless bends, a set of headlights showed up behind me. At first, I didn't think much of it. Just another late-night driver, probably heading home from a shift. But the car stayed with me. Mile after mile, every turn I made, they made too. I kept telling myself it was just coincidence. But the road was empty. No crossroads, no houses, just the two of us. I've always been careful, maybe more than most. I started checking my mirrors every few seconds, watching for any sign that this was just a normal driver. But they never passed me, never slowed down, just followed. I came into a tiny town, one of those places with 2 intersections and a blinking light. My GPS told me to turn left, but there were 2 lefts, side by side. I got in the wrong lane, realized too late, and just kept driving through the first intersection. The car behind me did exactly the same. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a coincidence. I was being followed, deliberately. I could feel my pulse in my throat, and every instinct told me not to stop, not anywhere. I called my boyfriend. My hand shook so bad I nearly dropped the phone. I told him what was happening, asked him to look up the local police number. He sounded distracted, like I was just being paranoid.
You're probably just overthinking it. It's late. You're tired. Just keep driving, okay?
In hindsight, I should have just called 911. But I didn't want to make a scene. Didn't want to be that woman who panics over nothing. So I kept driving, hoping the car would turn off somewhere. My gas light flickered on. I'd been so focused on the car behind me, I hadn't noticed how low I was running. There hadn't been a gas station for miles, just endless blacktop and trees. I tried to get a look at the driver, but the car's windows were tinted, blacker than the night around us. No faces, no clues, just the steady, unwavering glow of their headlights in my mirrors. I tried to joke with myself. Maybe it was just some local with a grudge against my Gators license plate frame. Maybe they were Auburn or Bama fans, just messing with a Florida girl. But the way they drove, never too close, never too far, felt calculated, like they were waiting for something. I started to wonder if they knew I was a woman alone in the car, or if they just didn't care. After what felt like 100 miles, the trees thinned out and city lights appeared. I could finally see street lights, neon signs, the glow of a gas station up ahead. Relief, but not enough to let my guard down. At the next red light, I turned in my seat and stared straight at the car behind me. I picked up my phone, pretending to talk, making sure they saw me watching, making it look like I was describing their car to someone. I spotted a gas station, bright, almost blinding under the fluorescent lights. I pulled in fast, parking so my door lined up with the station entrance. I jumped out, sprinted inside, and told the attendant I was being followed.
Ain't nobody out there now. You sure you weren't just spooked?
I peered out the window, heart pounding. The car was gone, just vanished. I could have sworn they'd followed me in, but maybe seeing me run inside scared them off. The attendant watched as I filled my tank, eyes never leaving the lot. I kept glancing over my shoulder, waiting for those headlights to reappear. But the night stayed empty.
Best way back to the freeway's just down that road. Take a ride at the light. You'll be out of here in no time.
I got back in my car, doors locked tight. The drive to the freeway was quick, almost too easy. I kept checking my mirrors, but the road behind me stayed empty. My hands shook the whole way home. I kept replaying the drive in my head, trying to figure out if I'd missed something, some clue about who was in that car or what they wanted. I was furious at Devin for not taking me seriously, for acting like I was just being dramatic instead of listening when I said something was wrong. When I finally got home, I left every light on in the condo. I double-checked the locks, checked the windows, and tried to breathe. The silence felt heavier than usual. I still don't know what that driver wanted, or why they followed me for so long. Maybe they were just bored. Maybe it was something worse. I'll never really know. I guess all I can say is, trust your gut. Don't wait for someone else to believe you. And if you ever find yourself alone on a back road at night, don't let your guard down. Ever. The first winter after my mother moved to her house in rural Michigan, the wind rattled the windows so hard I thought the glass would give. That was the year we started locking every door, twice, sometimes 3 times before bed. Over the years, little things happened. The front door left swinging open in the morning, even though we always checked the lock. Windows in rooms no one used, found cracked just enough for a cold draft to slip in. Nothing was ever stolen. No sign of a break-in, just the feeling that someone had been inside. Sometimes I'd catch my mother standing at the window, watching the woods across the field. She'd say it was nothing, but she always checked the locks again before bed. This past Thanksgiving, my brother and I both came home. I was 6 months pregnant, barely sleeping, and he'd just gotten back from Afghanistan. The house felt smaller with all of us there, but safer too. At least, I thought so. We ate together that night, the three of us. My mother's laughter sounded a little forced, and my brother kept glancing at the window, as if expecting something to move outside. I tried to ignore the way the wind pressed against the glass. By 11, we all drifted off to our old rooms. The house creaked in the cold, and I lay awake listening to the snowstorm outside. My brother's room was just down the hall. I could hear him shifting restlessly, the floorboards groaning under his weight. Sleep wouldn't come. The baby kicked, and my mind wandered, counting the locks, tracing the outline of the window frame with my eyes. I tried to remember if I'd checked the latch before crawling into bed. Sometime after 3, I woke up, suddenly, like something had pulled me out of a dream. The room was pitch black, except for the faint blue glow of snow outside. My heart was pounding, but I didn't know why. There was this pressure, like someone watching me from the corner. I held my breath, straining to hear anything beyond the wind. The silence felt rehearsed, as if the house itself was holding still. Then, footsteps. Slow, deliberate, crunching through the snow just beneath my window. Not animal, not the wind. Human, moving closer, one careful step at a time. They stopped right outside. I could hear the snow compress, the faintest scrape against the siding. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. The window latch rattled, just once. Someone was trying to open it, testing for weakness, for carelessness. I realized I was holding my breath so tightly my chest hurt. I couldn't look. I told myself to get up, to yell, to do anything, but I just sat there, frozen. The latch held. The footsteps paused. I stumbled out of bed, nearly tripping over my own feet. I didn't dare look out the window. I just ran, barefoot, down the hall to my brother's room. My brother woke instantly, eyes wide in the dark. He saw my face, saw the panic, and didn't ask questions. He reached for the rifle he kept at his bedside.
What happened?
I told him. Someone was outside, trying to get in through my window. My voice barely made it out, but he understood. He nodded once and slipped on his boots. He motioned for me to stay put, then moved toward the back door. The cold rushed in as he slipped outside, rifle at his side. I watched from the hallway, hands shaking. The house felt emptier without him inside. I listened for anything, shouts, a gunshot, the crunch of snow. All I heard was the wind and the faintest echo of boots outside. When he came back in, his face was pale. He said there were footprints, fresh ones, starting at the road, circling the house, stopping right beneath my window.
They go off into the woods, whoever it was. They didn't come back the way they came.
I looked out into the trees, searching for any sign of movement, but there was nothing, just the dark and the snow swallowing up the footprints as the wind picked up. We double-checked every lock, every window. My mother came out of her room, sleepy and confused, but didn't ask questions. She just sat at the kitchen table, staring at her hands. None of us slept much after that. I lay awake, listening for the smallest sound, the wind, the creak of settling wood. Every shadow felt sharper, every silence heavier. By morning, the footprints had vanished under fresh snow. The woods looked untouched, as if nothing had ever happened. My brother and I didn't talk about it over breakfast. We never figured out who or what had come to the house that night. The police didn't find anything, just snow and the memory of footsteps that led nowhere. My mother never brought it up again. But sometimes I'd catch her at the window at dusk, watching the tree line, lips pressed tight. She'd turn away when she noticed me looking. I wish I'd looked out that window. I wish I'd seen who or what was standing there. But maybe it's better I didn't.